Now you should be able to hear me. I hope you can see and hear me all right this morning. My name is Ulla Koenig. I'm a mindfulness Dharma teacher from southern Germany, and I welcome you very much to this morning's session. We're going to talk about dukkha this morning, and we're going to talk about safe ways, gentle ways to meet dukkha. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but first of all, the usual small reminders that there is a chat box which you just used to remind me that I should turn my sound on, and you can do the same if you run into any technical issues and just ask each other for support. I also very, very much, and I know the other members of the Sangha do as well, appreciate very much everything you share in terms of your insights, your resistances, your questions to the topic of this week. So please use the chat box to share that. And if you write your question, your reflection, your insight in capital letters, it will be more likely that I catch it within the running thread of the chat box. Okay. I will talk for 15 minutes, and then we're going to do a longer meditation, 25-ish minutes. And in the end, there will be time for me to turn towards your questions, reflections, and insights there. Okay. Last but not least, just the gentle reminder that these sessions run on donations. So if you can share something with Sangha Life and the teachers this week, myself, we very much appreciate you doing so. And George will send a link to that at the end. Okay, now let's start with today's topic. We talked a whole lot about suffering this week and the different ways in which we can see suffering in our lives, in the lives of others, the variant of intensities, and also the necessity, we spoke about that yesterday, to meet that suffering. But I want to fully acknowledge that meeting suffering is a challenge. And sometimes I think of this invitation to meet suffering as something which can be very confrontational. Yeah, this invitation to have a good look at our suffering, because some of us will quickly noticing, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to feel out. That's a lot to be with. That's a lot to respond to. And I want this. The Buddha woke up to these Four Noble Truths. But I want to just use the image of waking up as something like you do on a Sunday morning in bed, in best cases, where this process of waking up is something slow. Yeah, on these good mornings where you have like the luxury of doing so, you can almost notice how consciousness transitions into a waking state. And I would like for us to have the possibility to be waking up the same process. Because just like with waking up in real life, when the alarm goes off in the morning, you can notice the shock to the system. It's something to digest if you're in deep sleep and the clock goes off. And I would imagine that with the Four Noble Truths, it can be the same thing. Too quick an insight, too quick an awakening, too quick a confrontation with dukkha can be overwhelming. And sometimes in this overwhelm, in this more than we can handle, there is rather a response than a reaction. A response is something, as we said yesterday, where have you spaciousness around dukkha, where you can see it, where you can look at it, where you can bring in some qualities we're going to talk about today. Whereas with reaction, it's just the pain, being touched by the pain and impulsively reacting to it. So I want us actually, and many aspects of our practice are actually a preparation and a skill set to meet suffering skillfully. And that is what I want to talk today about. And I'm gonna dedicate a whole day of practice on Sangha Live to this theme of safely, gently meeting suffering. And it will be on the 4th of November for those of you who are interested. So one thing I observe, I wonder what you see, is that whenever there is suffering, whenever there is dukkha, and whenever there is a painful or challenging experience, there is also a form of reaction or response to it. Yeah, something touches our sensitivity, and there is a response or reaction to it. And sometimes this reaction is about trying to do something about it. We go into action mode. We try to change. Something it's about, no, thank you, trying to ignore or distract ourselves from being touched. And sometimes there is a meeting of that saying, oh, I've been touched. See what my sensitivity picked up. And an ability to explore that and be with that and bring in some quality. And I think the more we practice to meet and bring in some helpful quality with the small everyday dukkha, the small things which are a little bit challenging, a little bit discomfortable, a little bit annoying, whatever it is, the more we will work with a skill set which gives us the confidence to handle larger amounts of dukkha. You don't need to go out into the world and confront yourself. There is enough in the daily life to practice with. And I want to talk about three appropriate in the Buddhist sense would always be healing, comforting, soothing, supportive, qualities. 3 appropriate qualities to ponder upon and work with whenever you notice dukkha arising. And the first is, of course, compassion. I gave a whole week on compassion when I was here in summer, so you might want to listen into that again. But just let me give a bit of a reminder there. Compassion means for me is a tender acknowledgement, just a tender acknowledgement of a painful, challenging experience. To say, yes, that pain is there. To fully acknowledge, to say, yes, this is challenging. Yes, this is painful. Yes, this is annoying. Yes, this is frightening. This is frightening the heart mind right now. And how often don't we do that? How often do we acknowledge the pang or the ouch of a feeling and then say, I shouldn't be worried by this. I shouldn't feel sad or I shouldn't feel angry. What if, because of an outer measurement we have, some outer measurement system says this feeling is inappropriate. What if we just acknowledge that feeling, saying, somehow, for some reason, this is challenging to the heart mind right now. And I acknowledge, I recognize it is. And being with that ouch, Such compassion, such authentic compassion, it does not compare with others, and it does not go to moral measurements to say whether it's appropriate or inappropriate to feel whatever we feel. I like to distinguish. Maybe that's the puzzle piece which lacked for me a lot of time, is to say I distinguish between allowing to feel annoyed and allowing to feel annoyed after years when a memory still comes up, and differentiating between how I react, what sort of action I choose as a response to that. So it might be that a conflict comes back into my memory. I still notice this feeling of ouch. I say, wow, that still hurts, and I can feel it hurts. But I'm not going to feed these thoughts. I'm not going to call that person. I'm not going to do something in reaction to that, but just hold it in gentle awareness. That is compassion practice for me. And what compassion doesn't do either yeah, is to compare our suffering. That makes it really hard to be with our suffering a lot of the times, because you think, oh, it's so small and it's so irrelevant, because in comparison to everything what everyone else experiences on this planet, this is like really minor. Yeah, but it does not make the authentic expression of the heart mind go away in this moment. Yeah, this is the ouch the heart mind really truly experiences. And it's a form of suppression to say, yeah, but everyone is far worse off than me. Yeah, everyone is far worse off than me. That is a form of pushing it away, an attempt to ignore it, an attempt to belittle it, in the hope that it will just wander off. Yeah, and maybe we learned that from other people. Yeah, whereas to say, yeah, there is this ouch, and this is a little bit painful. Let me see whether I can accompany it for a while, and then because of its rather small impact on us, it will go away rather sooner than later. Yeah, but not have this harshness of the comparison. What compassion doesn't do either is it doesn't put us into a state of weakness or being a victim. Yeah, there is again a comparison in this. Now, I experience suffering, and that makes me less worthy. Yeah, that means I'm unable. That means there's something wrong with me. And sometimes other people, that is where compassion turns into pity. They treat us just like that, just saying, "Oh, you poor thing, you're not happy today. Yeah, what did you do wrong? Is there something I can help you with to be happy today?" Yeah, because just the assumption is, if you're suffering, there is something wrong with you. And I really hope that I transmitted this week to say, well, there's nothing wrong with you. Now, life is challenging and life is hard, and all of us will go through phases where we'll have this ouch within us. And compassion doesn't say there is some weakness and something wrong with me just because there is a pain. Yeah. So I hope this gives a short reminder on the compassion end. Now I want to talk about acceptance as a second aspect, a second quality, which is very important and so often misunderstood. How often have you thought or heard someone saying, or saying even to you, that you should just accept something? Yeah, just accept something. And I really wonder how well that sentence works for you. I can't say for myself, it doesn't work for me very well. It is, and the reason might be that acceptance is not a decision we make. I can't decide to accept something. Yeah, I can decide on the intellectual surface to say, yeah, I should accept that. Yeah, but you will notice that in the authentic heart, it's just saying, no, no, I'm not going to accept that. I don't want that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to be with that. I don't want to have this new situation. Something in the inner is very grumpy, yeah, about how things are at the moment. And to me, I think we don't need to care so much about the acceptance, because it's a part of the outcome of a whole process. Yeah, it's like if you care for, let's say, a plant. Yeah, you can't you can't put a seed into the earth and say, I want zucchini, or I want apples. Yeah, the apple is the outcome of a whole process, and in the meanwhile, you would need to get the weeds away from that plant, or water it, or see that it has enough sunshine, or that the snails feed on something else. And at the very end of this process, there is the zucchini, there is the apple, there is whatever you cultivate. And the same for me is true with acceptance. I don't need to demand the heart mind to give surrender into acceptance. That is not going to work. What works for me usually, and what I encourage others to explore with, are the preliminary steps towards acceptance. And part of that process for me is very important: grieving. Yeah, appropriate grieving. And grieving is just as multifaceted as suffering actually is. We can grieve so many things. We can grieve relationships, we can grieve lost roles, and we can grieve lost identities. Yeah, I was that person, and it was a pleasant role. It was lovely to have this task, to have this role, to have this identity. Now it's gone. Yeah, now it's gone. And we might feel an emptiness, and we might feel a sadness around that. And I think that needs grieving. Yeah. When the kids move out of the house and the nest is empty, some of us will say, hooray, and there's so much to explore right now. And others will notice the necessity for appropriate grieving. And most of us will have the one and the other. But there is more to grieve. We can also grieve expectations. We can grieve wishes. We can grieve hopes which have not manifested. We all run on expectations about how the future will look like and how our lives will look like and who we will be. Yeah. And that is because the mind has those programs. It will over and over again bring up those images. And with practice, we might realize rather sooner than later, that a fresh image of who I will be and what I will be able to do and how life will look like, that might come sooner. But every waking up of saying, oh yeah, actually that's just an image. Actually, life may turn out completely different. This friction between the image and life, for me, always brings up a little or a larger process of grieving, to saying, oh, yeah, that would have been lovely, but it's not the case. It doesn't turn out that way. And to grieve that. Yeah, to grieve that. I noticed that there is a lot of sadness also with how our marriage turned out to be, how my relationship with my kids turned out to be, how my body turned out to be. Yeah, there's just a lot to grieve. And without this grieving, without this acknowledgement of the sadness around the image, for me there is often too much reactivity to then go further on this path of acceptance. To say, first I need a good grieving. Yeah, first I need to allow the heart to be really sad that this dream, this wish, this song which the heart has sung did not turn out to be that way. So maybe there is something to grieve within us before we can accept. And the other part is, there's the grieving and there's the part of the resistance to change, yeah, which is also so necessary for acceptance. And before acceptance can arise, I need to look into the resistances. Yeah, there is something which I can't imagine to accommodate into my life, into my self-image, into how I define myself by roles and tasks and identities. There's something I can't accept around community, or how the larger picture human beings live on this planet, or how human qualities develop, human potential develops in this world right now. Yeah, to say, wow, I feel a huge resistance to accepting the status quo. I don't want humans to be this way. I don't want relationships to be this way. Yeah, I want to hold on to the image, to the idea that something else is possible. Yeah. What is my resistance telling me? There is something insightful, important in there. What is it? What is it I'm struggling with? Yeah. And sometimes what comes up for me is that I need something in form of resources, skills, perspectives to grow first before I can allow that aspect of life, that aspect of how things turn out, into my image of the world. I'm making a practical example here because that might be hard to understand. Sometimes when a relationship is over or changes, we might put all our effort into regaining what it has been before. Yeah. And sometimes we can see that the resistance to this change, one aspect of it might be the grieving, to say that has been really beautiful and nourishing, and it has given me a lot of things, and yeah, I would like to have that back, even if I can acknowledge it's not possible anymore in this form. And then the resistance might yet tell something else. It might say, I don't know how to live without that. Yeah. The loss of a connection, the loss of intimacy, the loss of this friendship, it frightens me really, because being alone, being on my own, having someone withdrawing from me or even rejecting me, that really frightens me. That really makes me angry. What do I need? Yeah. So that I can accept this withdrawal, can I accept this rejection, can I accept that this is diverging from each other. Yeah. So, and then I might need to come up with practices like, nourishing myself, finding gentleness in different resources than just one, etc., etc. So it's coming from a resistance to what I need in order to accept. Pardon me. And the final quality I want to share with you is the ability to change perspective. Perspective is a way of looking at something. And I'm not sure how aware you are of this already. Is to say things are not the way they are all of the time. We bring in something into this perspective perception process, which is our way of looking at something. Our moods might color what we perceive the world to be, ourselves to be, others to be. Yeah. Our thoughts about how things ought to be will change what we look at and how we perceive things to be, etc., etc. So a perspective we choose can change our entire experience. And I also understand Dharma practice as something which plays with perspective. Yeah. So there is no right and wrong perspective. Yeah. Whether we can do simple things like saying, is it good to always practice metta practice? And saying no, because there will be an appropriate moment and an inappropriate moment. Is it always good to practice compassion? Saying no, there will be appropriate moments and inappropriate moments. Is it always good to be mindful? Saying no, there will be ways of mindfulness which are supportive and ways of mindfulness which are not so supportive. Yeah. So to ask almost which perspective on things is useful and not so useful. We have the old play of saying, is the pessimist or the optimist happier? Saying, well, that depends very much on which perspective in some moment is useful or not so useful. Yeah. And to learn to switch perspectives, like we can switch from, reading classes to car driving classes to sunglasses to whatever classes we can have and put like goggles on our eyes. Yeah. To saying, have this flexibility in play. And I find this very important when it comes to dukkha. Yeah. To play with these perspectives, because what challenge, loss, pain, and conflict always does is that the intensity and the unpleasantness will fixate your mind on that theme. Yeah, that is problematic. That is what we need to think about, ponder upon, watch all the time. And this is what we call clinging. Yeah, the mind is obsessive, is clinging to something. It has no perspective play anymore. It's locked, locked to that theme, locked to that, onto that experience. And again, notice it's not something we decide to do, this clinging. Yeah, that is like another potential for guilt here and blame. It's the fascination of the heart mind. It's the fear of the heart mind. It's the attempt to get that fixed and worked with and done, which produces this clinging. So when we notice such obsession, it's our practice to gently loosen that grip again. Yeah, loosen that grip of clinging again. And to say, oh, this is how obsession feels. This is how it feels to be collapsed on one theme, one idea, one experience. And can I then gently open it? And this is the last thing I'm going to share, is to say, yes, that is there. Full acknowledgement again, that there's the compassion part of saying, yes, this is hard. Yes, this is demanding. Yes, this is frightening. And there is also, and there is also this and this and this experience. We can do that on the very momentary level, to saying, yes, there is this physical pain, and it really truly hurts. And there is also the bird song, the sun on the skin, and to create perspective. And we can also do that in life, to say, yeah, my colleagues, my relationship with my colleagues is really demanding at the moment. And there is also, in my life, such and such and such aspect. Am I still aware of that? So to sum it up, I want you to invite to play with qualities which make it easier to gently meet suffering. One would be compassion. One would be the process, engaging in the process of acceptance. And the third would be to change perspective. And I find that when I notice a fear of change, fear of loss, fear of dukkha, potential fear of future dukkha, that I can bring my mind back to these skills and say, I don't know what will happen to me. No one knows. We might meet far more dukkha than we ever expected. But dear heart mind, we have those sets of skills. We have those set of skills and we practice them over years, over and over again with the small everyday dukkha of what we just meet. And can I have a little trust in those skill sets? That they will enable me to a certain degree to suffer less in the face of suffering. Okay, so that's it for today. And now we're going to meditate. I invite you to sit with me, to stand, to lie down, to walk, if that has been maybe intense. And first to move and loosen the body a bit, maybe a bit of shaking, moving, circling the hips, circling the shoulders, the head. And we're going to practice in meditation with this last idea of changing perspective. If you don't feel well with it, if it's too challenging, please open up the eyes, move a bit. You don't have to push yourself through. If you feel like you can come back to a rather still posture, if you feel like moving, do so. And then allow yourself to just sit, lie, stand, walk for a moment. No particular task, nothing to observe. And now very gently, just every now and then, look where your attention goes to. As if your attention was a spotlight which highlights one experience and then another. Just let it do its thing. And just notice what it wants to pay attention to. And if thoughts come up, that's absolutely fine this moment. The attention goes into the realm of thoughts and thinking, and something is fascinating it there. And after a while of thoughts and thinking, you will notice mindfulness is coming back, and then just be curious about what was so important. What was so important to the heart mind that it needed to think about that. You might also notice a quality of attention there, which might be either very dull or very frazzled, not able to be in contact with anything really, just like moving around, not able to settle like a very agitated bird, or really dull, like not in contact very much, like looking at things through layers and layers of fog. That's all okay. Just notice quality of attention. And just see whether you can find the mind biting into some experience, like circling around a certain experience, being drawn to a certain experience. Maybe it's something within the realm of thoughts, like this seems very important to think about this morning. Maybe it's a physical discomfort. Maybe it's just this restlessness within, or this dullness. Maybe it's a mood. And what if we turn towards that and just feel into the unpleasantness just for a moment? Back off as soon as it gets overwhelming. And it might be the unpleasantness of restlessness or boredom, the unpleasantness of irritation, the unpleasantness of not being okay with who you are this morning. Maybe there is a felt sense to all of that, which you can feel out just for a moment. Maybe there is some compassion available to say, yeah, wow, that's hard, ouch, not pleasant to feel, not easy to be with. And then let's use the little word and. And there is also. Can we gently take our attention by the hand and bring it somewhere else? If you like, open up your eyes and look at something just beautiful or having nice colors, nice shapes in your room. Just use that for a moment. And then closing the eyes again. Very slow motion. We don't need to yank and speed up and hurry doing so. And just come to observe, watch your attention again doing its thing. And you might see how it moves from one experience to the other. No need to pinpoint it down on anything this morning. And just enough mindfulness. Just enough mindfulness to notice when paying attention to something starts to become stressful, agitating, causing comments, critique in the mind, to think, oh, dear attention, now you've contracted around something. What is this? What is this? Moving gently towards it, saying, oh, knee is hurting, breath body is not fully open. Thought about what comes up today. Maybe just a breath or two with the unpleasantness of having this experience. One or two inhales and exhales with that, and it might be something really minor. It's fully okay to practice with a small unpleasantness. And then consciously, very gently and slowly, taking your attention by the hand and bring it somewhere else. Somewhere where it's just okay. Nothing spectacular. Maybe just soles of the feet on the floor, moving them a little to feel them properly. Feeling the attention of the pressure of the sitting bones on the chair, the mattress, the cushion. And then saying, thank you, attention, and let it go again. Let it go playing. No need to keep it in check all the time. So practice like this for yourself. The image could be of walking with a young puppy, and the puppy goes left and right and sniffs at this and looks at that and is very engaged, and that's fully okay. It's when the puppy stops for longer and starts gnawing on something that you know that you have to intervene a little with all the gentle care you have, saying, oh, what's that? And then very gently accompanying it to an okay experience. Allowing it to sink in, and then let the puppy run again. And can you trust your mindfulness enough that it can be a very mellow companion? It doesn't have to be sharp and precise all the time. It's enough that you notice when paying attention to something starts to contract something within you, starts to agitate or accelerate something within you. When you notice that being in contact with something starts to cause a little extra dukkha. And then rather than yanking the attention away, let's move towards the dukkha for just as long as it feels okay to you. Just fully acknowledging it, saying, oh, I was thinking about having to make dinner this evening. And somehow I don't like that thought. Very small dukkha. But it's there. It's there. And then almost with all the gentleness you can bring up, and very slowly, just saying, okay, that thought doesn't feel very wholesome this moment. Let's maybe open up the eyes just a tiny bit and allow the sunshine to sink in. Or feel the warmth of the hands touching each other. Maybe let's generate some well-being through a nourishing inhale and exhale. Just this. Just a nourishing inhale and exhale. Or two if you like. Be generous. And then to loosen the grip of willpower around the attention and just let it go. And now let's bring some attention back into our feet and our hands. Gently start to move them. Gently start to stretch them. Stretch the rest of your body. Generous movement of the body. Yawning, sighing, everything's welcomed. And finally, come back to the room when you feel you're ready. So, this form of meditation, I find it very helpful in some sorts of dukkha. I find it very helpful, first of all, to realize that letting the attention loose is not always will not always cause deeply problematic feelings. But that we have some wisdom and discernment within us, and that is mindfulness, a sustainable way of mindfulness for me, which is able to tell me when something is contracting. And this is when actually we can then respond skillfully. But we don't need to be afraid of our experiences, so that we need to pinpoint down attention. And if we don't do that, and if we don't do that all day long, terrible things will happen. For most of the time, nothing really bad will happen. And then we can come in contact with the small dukkha and the larger dukkha. And in the very best case, you will just have the permission with this form of meditation to just sit there. And sometimes this is exactly what we need. We don't need another task. We don't need another thing to do. We need the permission to be. And for those situations, I find this form of meditation very helpful. And of course, there will be other situations where you notice turning towards that form of suffering with compassion for longer will be appropriate. And then you do that. Okay. Any questions, any reflections, any wishes to share your experience of this morning? Maybe sharing something upon those 3 qualities I named, which are compassion, process of acceptance, including the grieving aspect, and finally this play with perspective. Alana's writing. Could you say something about the difference between allowing and accepting? Now we're in the realm of semantic play. Some people would say there is a difference, others would say there is not. I'm not an English native speaker. I would say, for me, what comes up is allowing something is this very first permission to be in contact with something. There can be like layers and layers of pushing away and ignoring and distracting. So allowing to have even a contact point coming up, which is by no means meaning for me that I'm also accepting it. It's just that I'm creating contact again. And the accepting process is something which takes far longer, and far longer integration. I wonder, there might be other opinions on that, Alana. I wonder whether that resonates. Okay. Laura is writing that she really appreciates the analogy of the path to acceptance is like planting a seed, caring for it and waiting for it to grow. Yes, beautiful, Laura. For me, that takes off the entire burden of saying I have to be able to accept this. And I'm not, and feeling guilty for that and saying, well, something in the heart mind isn't ready yet. I can find out what might make this process easier. I might need to look whether I need to do more grieving. I need to do more grieving. But I can stop feeling guilty for not being able to accept. Jane is writing that she found the suggestion of changing of perspective on a difficult situation very helpful. She will explore that today. Yes. You might be familiar with Robert Bayer's lovely book, Seeing That Frees. And here we have that, the seeing which is freeing, which is liberating, and that can perspective do for us. A different, just like gently shifting the angle on something, and then that makes things feel differently. And we do that all of the time in Dharma practice. You might have heard about this suggestion of when you feel anger and when you feel frustration to practice metta for that person. That would be a suggested form of change of perspective. I never found that particular suggestion particularly helpful, but I play with other changes of perspective. So it's integrated in the teachings there. I find the Brahma Viharas, those practices of friendliness, of care, of tender care, of appreciation and of healthy, appropriate distance towards experience, all changes of perspective. Yeah, we bring in almost a new relational quality there. So it's fairly well integrated in our practice. You find it everywhere. And the Buddha used very often the term neti neti. Yeah, not this, not that. Yeah, and that is something which we always fall trap to. Yeah, saying it's like this, and the Buddha would say neti neti. Yeah, saying part of this, part of that, and we can gently play with that perspective. Christian is writing, gratitude. Thank you for allowing and showing compassionate space with our sitting, without a rigid dogma, and allowing softness and ability to pull away and revisit when ready. Yes, Christian. I find this such an important quality in our practice because, as I said, dukkha can be overwhelming. Yeah, it can. We're speaking about trauma, and we're very well aware that if we confront us too much with past trauma, we're just pre-traumatizing ourselves again. And that can, for me, is valid in explicit trauma, but I would say dukkha, like everyday dukkha, is just enough to handle as well. Yeah, so if you bring ourselves in confrontation with some strong dukkha and I can't handle it, I will just go reactive, and nothing is won by that. Yeah, I'm just wearing myself out. So this ability to step in and step out, very important. Patricia's writing, thank you for highlighting the place of grieving as an important part towards acceptance. One of the ways to make room for grieving for me begins with regarding it as a gift towards intimacy without dukkha. Beautiful, Patricia. Did you notice that I have a dukkha this morning? I can't pronounce English words very well this morning, and I can't make my mind to do that either, so here we go. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, intimacy without dukkha. It's okay not to feel okay about that. It's okay to miss something. It's okay to be really sad about a loss. And if we have done what Christian mentioned as important earlier, this practice of stepping in and stepping out, we will have more trust in our capacity to grieve in a healthy way. Because sometimes with grieving, this fear is falling into this endless, bottomless hole of grief. Yeah. If I know a way to step into my grief and step out of my grief when it's enough, and maybe do that often or not. For me, grieving is a process as well. Yeah, you're not done by doing it once, most probably. Stepping in and stepping out, and then the wave goes, and you continue with your day, and then the wave comes up again, and saying, "Okay, I'm here. I have you for as long as I can hold you, as the resources are there, and then I'm stepping out again." Yeah. And so there is a confidence in the skill of stepping in and stepping out will allow you to meet whatever comes up with less fear and tension. Yeah. Anything else you would like to share this morning? Rivka's writing, I would like to add one more quality. Yes, patience. To yourself, to what is coming towards you from outside and inside. Yes, patience is such an important quality. Patience is like playing with this perception of the mind that this will go on forever, that this will be hard forever, or that this needs to end quickly, or this perception of the mind which goes to time. It's very interesting to see in what a hurry the mind can be at times. To say, I can't stand that any longer. And then to play again with perspective, to say, I can't stand with this for some more time. If this friction is not the only thing I'm focusing on. This is when I personally notice I'm losing my patience, is when I give the experience of friction. My son is not putting his shoes on, and I'm all zoomed into the fact that he's not putting his shoes on. Then I lose my patience. And if I, again, open it up a bit, create a little bit of spaciousness around that, then patience comes back for me in most cases. It's getting darker and darker here. Karen is writing, I've done lots of work on acceptance and compassion and past events that still hurt me when I think of them. I now realize I haven't grieved for them. Oh, unless I do that, they will always cause me suffering. Yes, Karen, many thanks for sharing that. And again, skillful grieving is a skill. Yeah. So if we experience grieving as something which is truly challenging, that's okay. And then we need to almost step into the process of learning to skillfully grieve. And please, everyone, reach out when you need support. Actually, I didn't do that all week long. I'll just type my email address in. And if anyone has a question which wants to be asked personally or wants to have a one-to-one conversation, which I'm offering them on donation basis, please just feel free to reach out. Yeah, and Maria is sharing, she feels that when we live in compassionate acceptance in a way, there is less grieving. Yeah, maybe it's a process which is going on rather continuously then there to say, yeah, it's okay to feel that out. Nicola is sharing, and that's, yeah, I'm turning to that. I read somewhere that patience is the medicine for anger. Maybe we do a session on patience one week, because patience for me is the outcome of another process. I can't say in my mind, just be patient. Yeah, that is just like with acceptance, just be accepting. So maybe we need to see what the conducive conditions for patience are. And Liz is saying, unbelievably helpful for obsessing me this week. A little humor, a little precious oxygen returns. Thank you so much. Hello. Yeah, thank you for being here to every one of you. So I'm going to share whatever, Lois is sending me everything you share right now, but in due respect to your time and your schedule, we're going to end the session now. And I'm going to respond to everything else tomorrow. Tomorrow in our final session, we're going to talk about the self-construct and suffering, which is like really another big topic. And thank you for everything you shared this week. You make it so much more rich with your contributions, and we see each other tomorrow. And thank you also for your support you gave in so many ways. Thank you.